Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast, where I go over the top news of the last week in retro handhelds, retro gaming, and just gaming in general. It's been so long, I forgot how to do that intro, but just a quick heads up, I am a little under the weather, and I'm saying a little, but I'm a lot under the weather. I really don't feel good, but I'm gonna do this because we haven't had a newscast in weeks, and I didn't want to push it off one more week. So today, we will have one, and I'm gonna push through. We are going to quickly catch up on the news of the last 3 weeks, at least the important bits, at least all of the ones that I missed. And sorry for not having a newscast for the last 3 weeks. It became a scenario where the first week I just got busy with other things. The other 2 weeks, there just wasn't enough news to make this worth it of doing it. So today we'll just look back at the last 3 weeks and just consolidate it into what the important bits are. First up, PCSX2 2.0 was released. For those that don't know, PCSX2 is the PS2 emulator for PC. If you were using the nightly before, nothing really changes, but last stable was 1.6. So this is a nice big upgrade for those that were on stable. The devs also said that there will be more rolling updates for stable and more often, so that'll be a good thing. I also saw some rumblings that the lead developer left, and that was Stenzek, who you also might know as Talreth, and he was the developer of Aether SX2, although he's more known for PCSX2. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like for future updates and all of that sort of thing, so only time will tell what's going to happen next. Not much to say about this one, but confirmation that, yeah, CMU, the Wii U emulator, is in development for Android, but we are at least a year away from any sort of public release. I'm going to file this one under Vita emulation for excitement. Most of the great Wii U games have been ported to Switch already, so there's only a few left under the Wii U banner. And since Switch emulation is really good, doesn't really make a lot of sense unless CMU can come out with some big optimizations and just come out the door running. But it's still awesome nonetheless. More systems is still good. It's been a few weeks of GameCube retro achievements, so how have you been doing? Personally, I'm making my way through a few different games. Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, I think I'm at chapter 10 or 11 now, and that's been fun. Wind Waker, I'm playing again for the 100th time, and I think I just got the sale, so I'm right near the beginning still. Mario Sunshine, which I don't remember ever playing since it came out on GameCube way back when. I am running through again, and I'm realizing that Mario Sunshine isn't a great game, but it's still fun to go and get achievements for and all that sort of thing. There are hints of greatness there, but it is definitely not my favorite 3D Mario, that's for sure. Twilight Princess is another one that I don't recall playing, but I had it on the GameCube, so I must have. But I just met Midna and transformed into a wolf, and I'm back in the open world, so I went through all of that, but it's right at the beginning, and I've just been pushing through all of these GameCube games. I really wish it was on Android, but I've been using my Ally X for all of this, and that has been just fantastic. It's perfect timing. Just quickly going to circle back on the Anbernic news for the last few weeks. Now, first up, no matter what anybody's contacts or Anbernic's people say, nothing has changed in the last few weeks from what Anbernic is doing. The only difference is they took the 64 gigabyte link off of their website, but if you email them for it, they send it to you, and that file still has the Portmaster games and all of that sort of thing, and it's not great. And no matter how you feel about piracy, I mean, we all do it in the retro gaming space, obviously, but there is a difference between pirating a game that you just can't buy legally anymore to pirating a game that is for sale and the developer is developing for it and all that sort of thing. In the case of Stardew Valley, in the case of all the other games that are on that Portmaster list. And that is a different line in my opinion, and you might not have that line, and that's perfectly fine for you, but we all have our own lines that we don't cross, and for me, that's it. Lastly, there's the whole RG35XX SP battery situation, and Anbernic investigated Anbernic, and Anbernic said that Anbernic was doing everything okay. What? Look, I get that it's only 4 cases or 5 cases at this point, or whatever it is, and they say that they've sold thousands of them, whatever it is, but that doesn't mean that there isn't something wrong. It doesn't mean it isn't worth looking into. It means that, yeah, there's a low number of cases, but whatever combination of things these people are doing is causing this to happen. So maybe, just maybe, instead of releasing one more device this month, take a look back at your design process to see how you might be able to solve this so it just doesn't happen again. It's a problem, obviously, and we know it's a problem, and just putting the blame on people for using the included charger, using a different charger, using all that sort of thing isn't the right way to look at this. We can do that as much as possible. I can go ahead and use the proper cables, the proper chargers, all that sort of thing. And if it still happened, which it did in one of the cases, then what? How are you going to continue blaming that person? At some point, the blame has to be shifted to the manufacturer. There is just enough evidence out there that says, hey, maybe they should be doing something different. Personally, my 35XXH's battery is bulging out of the back. I am a content creator that advocates for the right way to do things, so you know I'm doing it right, and that is still bulging. So are you going to tell me that I'm using the right cables or wrong charger and all that sort of thing? You know what I mean? So I think this is a scenario where we should be pushing back on Anbernic to fix this. It doesn't matter how low the number of cases are, and it doesn't matter what Anbernic's PR contacts say to people. They obviously aren't considering this as serious, and that isn't cool. Anyways, point being here is I wanted to continue having these two stories in the spotlight because I don't think they should be swept under the rug, and I get why others might do that, but I'm not going to do that. Let's push Anbernic to do better and not be okay with the status quo, because otherwise, what's the point of having any sort of influence in the community if you're not going to use it for good? Okay, happier news now. The long-awaited Ayaneo Pocket Micro, which is sought after by myself and probably 5 others for being a very expensive Game Boy Advance device, is finally up for order, and you can get it for as low as $190 plus shipping. Now, since for me, this is a Game Boy Advance only device, I went for the base model. So I paid the $190 for the 6GB RAM Soul Red because I think the red looks the best. But there are other options there if you're going to try playing other systems, because the G99 in this can go up to GameCube and PS2 and all that sort of thing, kind of. So temper your expectations, but if you want to try those systems, then maybe do so. But I still don't think you need the extra RAM and all that. I think the base model is enough for most people. Is $189 too much for Game Boy Advance? For me, no, because I have an analog pocket and I have other devices that I've bought for worse reasons. But for most people, probably yeah. So I don't think this is going to catch on in that way. But if you look at it as a competitor sort of to the Retroid Pocket 2S, and this is, I'm grasping at straws here, but if you look at it that way, as another 3.5-inch device with a lot more power, and not a lot, but more power and all that sort of thing, then maybe, but I'm stretching. This is going to be a niche use case device for a lot of people. They start shipping in September, so we'll see how fast they get things out. Ayaneo, not to be outdone by Ayaneo, also had the Pocket DMG go up for pre-order or order at $339 for the base model. This is the one with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3X chip, and it's a vertical. I think it has an OLED screen, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I basically stopped caring about this when I saw it. But if you're looking for a very strong vertical, powerful vertical, and all that sort of thing, then this is for you. But I just don't see this one hitting with a lot of people. Magic X, the company behind the XU10 and the just released XU Mini, just announced their product slate. They have an XU Touch 1 coming with a 3.5-inch, 3x4 aspect ratio, 480 by 640 screen, using the all-winner A133, and that's the same that's in the TrimUI Smart Pro. Well, the TrimUI Smart Pro has the Plus version, but it's the same. 1GB of RAM, Hall sticks, and dual speakers for $60. Next is the XU Touch 2, 4-inch, 1x1 aspect ratio, 720p screen, all-winner A523, which is new, 2GB of RAM, Hall sticks, and dual speakers for $80. Then we have another XU Mini called the M2, and with that, it's the 3.2-inch, 1024 by 768 HD screen, 4x3 aspect ratio, using the all-winner A523, 2GB of RAM, Hall sticks, dual speakers for $70. And lastly, we have the XU10 successor, the XU20, using a 5.5-inch 720p screen at a 16:9 aspect ratio, with the RK3586 processor, 4GB of RAM, hall sticks, and dual speakers for $100 US. So with Magic X, I am more interested in their software improvements instead of their hardware improvements. Their hardware has been okay or fine in between there, but software has been the big problem. And so seeing this product slate from a company like them, they might be biting off a bit more than they can chew, or they're hoping that the community will take up community firmware support on all of this and go from there, but that is a big wish. Let's see how it goes. I mean, it could be good for some of these handhelds and it could be bad, so we'll see. But based off of specs, there's nothing really that I'm interested in there. It's nothing new. It's kind of things that already exist in the market and probably their own take on it, but we'll see. Okay, so I think we've established by now that Anbernic is kind of sort of petty in a way that they'll just copy other people's designs and then race them to market to just get rid of them. And this is the same scenario as that. Anbernic is teasing a vertical device that's using an H700 processor, so the same as the other ones, 1:1 aspect ratio screen, and it looks like it's probably going to be the 40XX-V is my guess here. Now, this is complete speculation. We don't know if this is coming. This is just kind of a rumored picture and all that sort of thing, but it looks exactly like the Ayaneo Pocket DMG, and this is just straight up Anbernic to do this once more again. The same thing they did with the Unicorn and the same thing they did with so many other devices is just copy another design, make some changes and release it, and off you go. I thought they weren't doing any more H700 devices, and then I saw this, so who knows what's going on over there. Now, you would think that Powkiddy would want to disassociate themselves with the RGB 10 Max 3 Pro, and I think I said that right. Yep, I did. But nope, we have a 4 coming, and this one is going to be using the RK3588 processor. For those out of the loop, this has been a long-awaited processor by pretty much every Linux person because it is the most powerful Linux chip that we're going to get in these price ranges. But it also runs Android, as we saw with the GameForce Ace, which I'm sure a lot of you tried to forget about the GameForce Ace because I know I did. Now, before you get super excited here, I'm going to temper expectations. First, it only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. It does have Wi-Fi, but only 2.4 gigahertz, so no 5 gigahertz. It does have Bluetooth. There's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it is apparently using the RGB 10 Max 3 Pro shell, but apparently that might be temporary as well. Okay, look, how do I put this nicely for people and not get in trouble? This is going to be a very much developer-focused unit for probably the first few months of its life cycle. We don't have, besides the GameForce Ace, we don't really have any other devices that have been using this on the handheld front, at least. So development on this is going to take some time, and it's not going to be easy at the beginning and all that sort of thing. And they've been working on it since the GameForce Ace. But my point being, if you want to look back at the RGB 10 Max 3 Pro, or if you want to look at the GameForce Ace, those should give you very good indications of what you should expect here software-wise. And so I personally wouldn't even touch this with my own money, but I can't suggest it either. We'll see what happens when it actually releases and if I'll review it and all that sort of thing, but I would be very wary about this one, put it that way. I'm also going to say that you should probably wait to see what the community says about this. The community that actually uses it, not reviewers, not devs, not anybody like that, but the actual community. The people who are going to buy this day one and play with it, wait to see what their experiences are because they'll have the actual proper experiences because most times what's going to happen is reviewers and devs are going to say this has so much potential, like the RGB 10 Max 3, that I'm still waiting for that potential a year later. So just be careful with this one. It's going to get hyped up because it's a much beloved chip that everybody's been waiting for, and you might want to just temper back on it. If my videos have been helping you, consider supporting me on Patreon, or just give this video a like and a sub. You can also come join me on the Discord to talk about all of these retro handhelds. By the way, did I miss a topic that you want to hear discussed? Top comment with the words newscast topic will be featured on next week's show. That's all from me, Dublin.